Hi, amazing viewers. Welcome to Christianity over Islam with Shamoun. And on today's debate, Muslim father challenges Shamoun and end up destroy Islam. Let's watch this amazing video.
What's the problem with God appearing as a man that actually shows Islam is false? He just proved to you that the Old Testament agree with the Christians that God can appear as a man. How does this falsify Christianity when it proves that Muhammad is a fraud? So why does the Old Testament agree with the New Testament that God can appear as a man, has appeared as a man, and did human activities such as wrestle in that human form and eat human food like in Genesis 18, as a precursor to God becoming man in Jesus? So all the New Testaments agree, and yet Muhammad is the odd man out, and he thinks this actually proves Islam? It actually shows Muhammad is a fraud.
I guess because in the nature of Allah in the Quran is like saying like it's not befitting of him to do these things. Like it's like
That shows that your dad doesn't know much about Islam, because according to Sunni tradition, Allah has gonads, and he had his gonads yanked by a womb, making him say to the womb, stop. And according to Muhammad, Allah appeared as a beardless youth, and Allah's hand touched Muhammad's chest, and he felt the coolness of his fingers. So what is your dad talking about? So your dad doesn't know as much as he thinks. And so when he sits in judgment of the Bible, he has to be careful, because he's speaking in pride and arrogance, and God destroys pride and crushes the arrogant, because he thinks he knows more than he does, and he doesn't. So his God has gonads, meaning loins. His God had a womb, yank his loins, make him scream, stop. His God appeared to Muhammad as a beardless boy, a youth, with curly hair, and Allah then touched Muhammad with his palm. Muhammad said, I felt the coolness of his fingers. So he thinks this is fitting? For Allah so loved the Ummah that he gave up one of his feet. And have someone read the Arabic so they don't lie about the Arabic. Yeah, so your dad doesn't know much about Islam, and he speaks in confidence, not realizing he's speaking arrogantly because he's going to embarrass his religion. Abu Hurairah reported, Allah's prophet is saying that when Allah had finished creating all things, ties of relationship arose and seized the loins of the compassionate one. He said, stop. So I want to know, how is it that his God has loins that can be yanked? And then it says, Abu Hurairah narrated on the authority of the prophet, when God completed the creation, the Rahim, that's the word for womb, stood up and seized the loin of the merciful, bi haqqu, or haqwa, el-Rahman. He said to her, stop it. And this author is quoting Bukhari, translating Bukhari from Arabic and English. Anthropomorphism Islam, the challenge of traditionalism, page 209. Your father has a problem with God appearing as a man and allowing his servant to wrestle with him and not going full blast on him because he could then kill him, but exerting enough energy to force him to struggle until he prevails and gets God to bless him. But he has no problem with his God having genitals, gonads, a loin, that a womb yanks, and a womb speaks to him? Really? Because look what she says. And she said, who? The womb, Rahim. This is the place where a person seeks your protection from the enmity among relatives. He replied, will you be satisfied if I stay close with the person who makes you close to him and be detached from the person who detaches himself from you? She said, of course. A womb is talking to Allah. And he said, so here then, this shall be granted you. Abu Hurairah added, if you want, you can recite the Quranic verse saying, this is based on chapter 47, 22 of the Quran. This is Muhammad's explanation. If you hypocrites renounce the faith, you would surely do evil in the land and violate the ties of blood. Now, this comes from Ibn Kathir, and this is his commentary on 47:22. Alim.org. Okay, watch here. On 47:22. Such are the ones whom Allah has cursed, so he's made them deaf and blind in their vision. Now watch. This involves a general prohibition of spreading corruption on earth and a specific prohibition of severing the ties of kinship. In fact, Allah has commanded the people to establish righteousness on earth, as well as join the ties of kinship by treating the relatives well in speech, actions, and spending wealth in charity. Many authentic and sound hadiths have been reported through numerous routes of transmission from Allah's Messenger in this regard. And he gives one. Al-Bukhari recorded from Abu Hurairah that Allah's Messenger said, after Allah completed creating the creation, the womb stood up and pulled at the lower garment of the most merciful. It doesn't say lower garment. It says haqwa. It's loins. But the English translators were embarrassed, and so they translated lower garment. But even if we go with lower garment, let me ask you a question. What in the world is God doing wearing a garment?
yeah.
Even if we go with that definition, right? Let's go with the definition. And it's not. Have them read the Arabic. Haqwa Rahman. Haqwa doesn't mean garment, means your loins, your gonads, the area around your waist where your genitals are. If you're a man, if you're a woman, right? You have female genitalia. So what in the world is this God doing wearing a lower garment? How's he going to answer? He's going to deny it. But it's Bukhari, Sahih. He's not a Quran-only Muslim. And then how much sense does it make that the womb is a female, because Rahim is a feminine noun. So Rahim is a feminine noun. So then Muhammad, taking it as a feminine noun, described the womb as a woman. The womb stood up and pulled at the lower garment of the Most Merciful. So why is this womb, a female, yanking at Allah's gonads? And he said, stop that. It replied, my stand is here. My stand here is a stand of one seeking refuge in you from severance of ties. Allah said, would it not please you that I join whoever joins you and sever whoever severs you? It replied, it's actually not it, it's she replied, just like we found here. See, the Muslims are so dishonest, they even mistranslate the Arabic sources, because it literally says here, Livnat Holtzman is a scholar of Islam, and she has no interest in being polemical. He said to her, she said, but you notice how they translated it? Mm-hmm. It replied, right? It replied, yes, indeed. He said, you are granted that. Abu Hurairah added, read if you wish. Imam Ahmed recorded from Abdullah bin Amr that Allah's Messenger said, verily the womb is attached to the throne. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Allah has a womb that's a walking, talking womb, a female womb that walks and talks and attached to the throne. Why does he got a female attached to his throne that yanked on his gonads?
Yeah. And why does Allah have human attributes or human body parts?
Exactly. But then notice though, and connecting its ties does not mean dealing evenly with the kinsfolk, but rather means that once kinsfolk sever the ties, he connects them. This hadith was also recorded by Al-Bukhari, the highest authentic collection of narrations. Ahmad ibn Hanbal also recorded from Abdullah ibn Amr that Allah's Messenger said, the womb will be placed on the day of resurrection, curved like a spinning wheel, speaking with an eloquent tongue. Do you believe this nonsense?
Sounds like someone had a bad mushroom trip.
Tell me about it. On drugs, right? A bad acid trip. Calling to severing whoever had severed it and joining whoever had joined it. Imam Ahmed recorded from Abdullah bin Amr, right, that Allah's Messenger said, the merciful ones will be granted mercy from the most merciful. Have mercy on those on earth. The one above the heavens will then have mercy on you. And Ar-Rahim, the womb, is from Ar-Rahman. So Ar-Rahim is a part of Ar-Rahman. So this female womb, this walking, talking womb, is from Ar-Rahman, a part of him, and attached to his throne. So that means Allah not only has gonads, not only does he wear a garment, but he's got a female attached to him on the throne. So whoever joins it, joins him. Whoever severs it, severs him. Abu Dawood, the Tirmidhi, both recorded this hadith. Now, is it sound? And has been reported with continued chains of transmission. At-Tirmidhi said, Hassan Sahih, good, sound. And your dad has a problem with Jesus being man, becoming man, or God appearing as a man and wrestling with his servants to teach them a lesson? Really? Mm-hmm. And Allah has a flank, by the way, here. Remember, I gave you the article, the flank of Allah, Janbi Allah. Janb Allah. Now, those who know Arabic will tell you, this means he has a flank, he has gonads, he has body parts. What the hell? But anyway, you got the link to this article, right? Mm-hmm. All right. Now, let me show you the one where it says Allah appears as a beardless boy, okay? Beardless youth. Muhammad's got a young curly-haired beardless boy. So your dad has an audacity to even criticize the Bible. Let's read. Al-Tirmidhi hadith number 237. Narrated Abdurrahman ibn Aish. Allah's Messenger said, I saw my Lord, the exalted glorious, in the most beautiful form. He said, what do the angels in the presence of Allah contend about? I said, thou art the most aware of it. He then placed his palm between my shoulders, and I felt its coldness in my chest. So Allah has a palm, Allah has a flank, Allah has gonads, genitals, Allah wears a lower garment. And I came to know what was in the heavens and the earth. He recited, thus did we show Ibrahim the kingdom of the heavens and the earth, and it was so that he might have certainty. It appears in a merciful form. I mean, it's not completely collected in Muhammad, but doesn't mean it's weak. Transmitted by Ahmed, Tirmidhi, who said, this is a Hassan Sahih. Hassan means good, Sahih hadith. Now I asked Muhammad bin Ismail about this hadith, and he said it is a Sahih sound hadith. And if you click on it, it's online on archive.org. Now, it can be found, but they change the URL. But here it is, on Alam, hadith number 245. Now let's read. I found myself in the presence of my Lord, the blessed and glorious, in the best form. He said, Muhammad, I said, at thy service, Labayk, my Lord. He said, what these highest angels condemn? What are they arguing about in heaven? So what does he say? I said, I do not know. He repeated it thrice. He said, then I saw him put his palms between my shoulder blades till I felt the coldness of his fingers between the two sides of my chest. So he saw Allah in a surah, in a form, a visible form. He felt his hand physically touch him, and he felt the coolness of his hands, palms. Mm. So Allah has a body, huh? Allah has a shape. Allah has hands. Allah has gonads. Allah has a flank. All right, well, notice also the following. Translation, sunnah.com. Great Hassan. So you click here, and it's right here, see? And the Arabic is there. So when you go to my articles, you can read them online. This is another version of the same hadith, translated by Darussalam. Now let's read this version. Then I saw my Lord, blessed and most high, in the best appearances. He said, so I saw him place his palm between my shoulders, and I sensed the coolness of his fingertips between my breast. He can go and get the Arabic. I had them translated from Holtzman, who translated from Arabic, but they're there, and the sources are their names, so he doesn't say this is a lie. Here you go. I saw my Lord in the most beautiful form, like a youth with abundant hair. So Allah has abundant hair, huh? Al-Daraqutni, and he can go and verify the Arabic. It's Kitab al-Ru'ya, so you can't say you're lying. Say, no, it's right there. Go open up Kitab al-Ru'ya, pages 332, 333, and 356, 357. Similar reports from al-Tufail, Anas bin Malik, Muad bin Afra, Ibn Umar, Aisha, Muhammad's wife, Ibn Abbas, his cousin, reported this. Reported by Tabarani and Ibn Abi Asim al-Bayhaqi. These are world-class hadith scholars. Al-Sayuti, al-Haythami, Ibn Adi al-Baghdadi, with abundant hair. Really? Now watch here. How about this one? I saw my Lord in the form of a young man, beardless, Amrat, with short curly hair, Jat, and clothed in a red garment. So hold on. Allah has gonads. He has genitals. He has a flank. He has hands and palms and fingers and foot. And he has curly hair, abundant hair. He appears as a youth, and he wears a red garment. Now, is it authentic? Here you go. Narrated by Ahmad bin...
This is the place where this video get more interesting. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do it to subscribe.
Hanbal in Tabarani, authenticated, meaning Sahih, in Ahmad bin Hanbal, in his book Creed, number 3, citing Isnad, and here's the chain, Abdul Samad bin Yahya, and Tabaqat al-Hanabila, Ahmad ibn Hanbal was one of the greatest hadith scholars, has a school of Islamic jurisprudence named after him. Volume 1, page 218. Al-Marudi, also narrated in Tabaqat, volume 381. Ibn Aqil and Maqdisi, what's the grading? Sahih, sound, by Abul Hassan bin Bashar, and Ibn Abi Yala Tabaqat, volume 259. So it's Sahih, sound, Abu Yala al-Mutammid, page 85, and accepted by Ibn Taymiyyah in Bayan Tablis al-Jahmiyyah, volume 7, pages 190 to 198 and 290. They can't tell you it's a lie. So what's your problem, your father's problem with God? Appearing as a man, doing human activities like eating and wrestling? And Allah, here, I don't know, you said you didn't have children. When you were young, did you ever wrestle with your dad?
Yeah.
Did he exert all his strength and harm you, or did he let you wrestle and struggle and sometimes let you get the upper hand?
Yeah.
So then why is he shocked that God, who's infinitely loving, and he's the true father of us all, would humble himself to appear as a man and let Jacob wrestle with him and exert enough energy where he doesn't kill Jacob? In order to teach Jacob, you got to wrestle in life, prevail and overcome, then you'll be blessed. In fact, did your dad even read the context carefully? Because the text shows that if God wanted to kill him, he could. So let me show you what he didn't pay attention to. You ready?
Yeah. I think when I read it, God popped his hip out of place.
Oh, so I don't need to read it. You got it. What did that tell you? And he was then crippled ever since. He walked with a limp. What was that telling you? When God popped his hip socket, leaving him to limp the rest of it, what did that tell you about his power?
That he could just destroy him if he wanted to.
Snap him like a twig, right? So right there, God is telling you, I can snap him like a twig, wipe him out. But that's not the point. I'm having him wrestle with me instead of running from his problems, because running from your problems is not a solution. Face them and overcome them, and you'll be blessed. So what's the problem here, man? See, he's quoting a website. He hasn't even read the Bible and understood its context. But any other one? Did that answer that one, by the way?
Yeah, that one answered.
Make sure you turn against him. Say, hey, Dad, but Allah has gonads, genitals, has a flank, wears a red garment, right? He has curly hair. He's beardless. And by the way, it's sunnah to have a beard. How come Allah's violating the sunnah? Right? Here, I'm not lying. Here, let's read it again. And this is a sound hadith, buddy. Sound hadith. A young man, beardless, Amrad, and he has abundant short curly hair and a red garment. But it's the sunnah to have a beard. Why is Allah violating the sunnah? And authentic, it's sahih. Don't let him get, no. Hey, buddy, the greatest Muslim scholar said it's sound. So you want to renounce the sunnah? Then let me know. But you can't say it's not sound. All right. So what's the other question, if that answered this one?
I think the next scenario we were talking about was where Jesus went to the fig tree and he didn't know that it wasn't in season.
No, that's not true. See, again, misinformation. Yeah, Mark 11, Matthew 21. I'm going to give you Mark, we'll go through it. Okay. Argument is, it wasn't season for figs, and Jesus went looking for figs, and he cursed it. Isn't it amazing that when he cursed it, it died and withered away? So what does that tell you about his power?
That he has it.
Say it again?
That he has the power to do it.
And so if we believe he's a messenger of God, so God authorized him to curse the fig tree? So you understand how this turns against him. Why? Because you're quoting a story where Jesus shows he has power over the elements, and what he says happens. He cursed the fig tree and it withered and died. So let's focus on one statement that says it wasn't season for figs in Mark 11, but that means he doesn't understand what it means. Because this is the Passover week. That means it's around springtime, and the spring harvest is around the corner. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So that means what Jesus is doing, it's around, because Passover takes place in spring when the harvest is about to bloom. How do I know? Because 50 days after the Passover is Pentecost. Pentecost is when you bring your first fruits to God. Of what? The harvest. Meaning it's now right around the season for the harvest to bloom, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So what was Jesus looking for? This shows not the ignorance of our Lord. It shows the ignorance of people who don't know history and geography. And I'm going to prove it to you. And it's actually what we call a played out parable. What does that mean? Jesus does physical acts, physical miracles to point to greater spiritual realities. All right? So guys, let me get you the article. An old article that already addressed this. Here it is. It's private for you right there. For the rest of you, Eric, if you haven't been following me, I'm going to have to get you out of here. Why I'm not on YouTube. Okay, now here it is for the rest of you. Right there. Save it, guys. You learn it, share it, go to your social media platforms and share the information. All right. Are you aware that right around the season, right before the season, right, shortly before, fig trees produce what's called taksh. These are small knobs. See, if anyone knew about Palestinian Israel geography, they wouldn't say something so stupid. Because people who are native there know right around harvest, the fig tree produces knobs called taksh, what people can eat. They're edible. When you see the knobs on the tree, that's an indication that the tree is fertile and will produce figs. If you do not find knobs, which are edible, meaning you can eat, that means the fig tree is barren. So the mistake is on your father's part, not knowing geography. And let me read it. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Here it is. F.F. Bruce, are the New Testament documents reliable? This actually shows you how reliable, how knowledgeable the writers of the Bible are. That means Mark would have had to know the geography of Israel to get this right. But that means he must have been an eyewitness or interviewed eyewitnesses. Because notice the proof. Because your father's ignorant of first century Israeli harvesting. He didn't know this, did he?
I don't think so, no.
Of course he didn't, because if he knew it, he wouldn't bring this as an objection, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are the odds of someone who wasn't an eyewitness to Israel and the geography of Israel and the landscape of Israel, or had interviewed eyewitnesses, would have gotten this right?
Yeah.
That actually argues that this is based on eyewitness testimony because it's spot on. What do I mean? Let's read. Okay. The other miracle is the cursing of the barren fig tree, a stumbling block to many. They feel that it is unlike Jesus, and so someone must have misunderstood what actually happened, or turned a spoken parable into an acted miracle, or something like that. Some, on the other hand, welcome the story because it shows that Jesus was human enough to get unreasonably annoyed on occasion. But now watch what he says. But it appears, however, that a closer acquaintance with the fig trees, would have prevented such misunderstandings. Did you catch it? If you actually knew about figs, you would have made this blunder. You seeing it?
Yeah.
Watch. Okay. The time of the fig is not yet, says Mark, for it was just before Passover, about 6 weeks before the fully formed fig appears. The fact that Mark adds these words shows that he knew what he was talking about. When the fig leaves appear, about the end of March, they are accompanied by a crop of small knobs called taksh by the Arabs, a sort of forerunner of the real figs. These taksh are eaten by peasants and others when hungry. They drop off before the real fig is formed, but if the leaves appear unaccompanied by taksh, there will be no figs that year. So it was evident to our Lord when he turned aside to see if there were any of these taksh on the fig tree to assuage his hunger for the time being, that the absence of taksh meant that there would be no figs when the time of figs came. For all its fair foliage, it was a fruitless and hopeless tree. So much for that stupid objection. Do you see?
Yeah.
So is it actually accurate and spot on, or a mistake?
Spot on.
Well, let me read another scholar that knows the landscape of Israel. Craig S. Keener, on his commentary on the Gospel of Matthew, page 504. At Passover season in late March or early April, fig trees are often in leaf on the eastern side of the Mount of Olives. At this time of year, such fig trees contain only green early figs. Arabs call them taksh, which ripen around June, but often drop off before that time, leaving only green leaves on the tree. A leafy tree lacking such early figs, however, would bear no figs at all that year. Right? Now, the more important question is, why did he curse the fig tree? Because number one, it didn't have taksh, meaning it's fruitless, right? So if it's a dead tree, then what do you do with a dead tree?
Cut it down.
But why? Because if your dad actually studied the Bible, did you know that the fig is a symbol for Israel?
No.
Yep, I'm going to show it to you in this article. It's in here. So this is what we call a played out parable where Jesus is showing, like the fig tree, Israel is dead, spiritually barren, devoid of any life and any sign of spiritual fruit. And like the fig tree, Israel's good only for destruction, which is what happened 40 years later when God allowed the temple in Jerusalem to be destroyed. You ready for me to show you the proof?
Yep.
It's right here in the article. And here, Dr. David Stern, a Jewish believer in Jesus, gives you the background, but I'm going to go to the passages. Here is Israel, the nation, being likened to figs. Jeremiah 8:13. I will take away their harvest, declares the Lord. There will be no grapes on the vine. There will be no figs on the tree, and their leaves will wither. What I have given them will be taken from them. Now watch it. Let's go to Hosea 9:10-16. I'll read this as well. But let me jump here. When I found Israel, it was like finding grapes in the desert. When I saw your fathers, it was like seeing the early fruit on the fig tree. Early fruit? Didn't we just read about that? Mm-hmm. Gabriel, stop helping me before I have to block you, buddy. I know this. Listen and respect my rules before I get you out of here, Gabriel. Olu Boyar. All right. You're not helping me by chiming in. You're only showing me that you need attention. All right. Now, what do we learn? Early fruit on the fig tree was called what? Tax, right? Mm-hmm. So what was Jesus looking for?
He was looking for the tax.
And he didn't find it, which is a sign of what?
Let's see.
If he didn't find the tax, means the tree is what?
Oh, that is going to die. It's not going to bear any fruit.
So notice God likened Israel to a fig, and he looked for early fruit. But when they came to Baal Peor, they consecrated themselves to that shameful idol. They worship Baal and became as vile as the thing they love. Ephraim is blighted, their root is withered. They yield no fruit. So the people yield no fruit like the fig. So what do you do with a fig that's dead? You destroy it. Even if they bear children, I will slay their cherished offspring. Okay, I'm going to read all of them, but let's go to the shorter ones first. Nahum chapter 3, verse 12. All your fortresses are like fig trees with their first ripe fruit. When they are shaken, the figs fall into the mouth of the eater. So you're fruitful. All right. But how about Micah 7, verses 1 and 4? You're getting this, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone getting this? You getting this, right? All right. Now, let's read. What misery is mine? I am like one who gathers summer fruit at the gleaning of the vineyard. There is no cluster of grapes to eat, none of the early figs that I crave. You understand what the parable means? Who is looking for early figs to eat in the parables? I mean, in these passages.
And the one above it?
All of these, they're all the same. Who is looking for figs to eat in all of these passages?
Jesus and...
Not here. This is Old Testament. Who is
Old
looking
Testament?
Here?
Oh, the Israel,
Who's looking?
Let's see.
Don't let me hang myself and block you and leave. These are Old Testament passages. Who's talking about Israel liking it to a fig, looking for fruit on it to eat?
God?
Yes. And did God find any?
No.
When I saw your fathers, but then in Mark 11, who was looking for fruit on the fig? And Mark
Jesus.
11, you understand Jesus is claiming to be the God of Israel?
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? So isn't it ironic that the very act of Jesus cursing the fig tree because he's looking for fruit is an act that shows he is the God of Israel who is coming to Israel, his fig tree, to find fruit, and he's finding none. It actually proves that Jesus is making himself out to be God. Do you understand?
Yeah, I see the correlation.
Because here, all your fortresses are like fig trees with their first ripe fruit. When they are shaken, the figs fall into the mouth of the eater. Now watch here. When I found Israel, this is God speaking, it was like finding grapes in the desert. When I saw your fathers, it was like seeing the early fruit on the fig tree. It is God who says Israel is a fig tree, and I'm coming to look for fruit from it to eat. Who then comes to Israel and finds it fruitless? Jesus. So when Jesus curses the fig tree, he's showing, see, I am the God of Israel. Israel's my fig tree, and I'm looking for fruit. It has none, so now I must curse it. So you understand that act shows that Jesus is making himself out to be God?
Yeah.
So isn't it ironic because your dad is not looking to learn? He's missing all these examples where Jesus is making himself out to be God. Here, Micah 7, verse 1 and 4. What misery is mine? I'm like one who gathers summit fruit at the gleaning of the vineyard. That's God speaking. There is no cluster of grapes to eat, none of the early figs that I crave. So God is saying, I'm looking for early figs as a sign. This tree of mine, Israel, this fig tree is fruitful. There's none. But that's what Jesus did. Well, that's what Jesus did. He came to Israel looking for spiritual fruit, found none, and now he has to destroy it. He's claiming to be the God of Israel, who's looking for fruit from his tree, the fig tree, Israel, and he's finding none. The godly have been swept from the land. Not one upright man remains. All men, right, lie in wait to shed blood. Each hunts his brother with a net. Both hands are skilled, so they're full of evil and venom. They're wicked. No righteous fruits. The ruler demands gifts. The judge accepts bribes. The powerful dictate what they despise. They all conspire together. The best of them is like a briar. The most upright, worse than a thorn hedge. The day of your watchman has come. The day God visits you. Now is the time of their confusion. But who came to visit them?
God.
No, in Mark 11, what was
Mark 11, Jesus visits.
But we're told it's God who comes to visit Israel to see if there's any fruit in it.
Mm-hmm.
So are you making the connection? Who came to visit Israel in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John?
Mm-hmm. So is it safe to say that Jesus would have known that the tree was like that just to prove a point of
Yes.
going back to this?
Yes, his point is the people are dead, they are barren, they are fruitless. There is no choice left but to destroy them. And I'm going to show you the other parable. Let's finish this one. Jeremiah 29, 15 to 19. Okay? God is speaking. You may say, the Lord has raised up prophets for us in Babylon. But this is what the Lord says. It's not a creature. About the king who sits on David's throne, and all the people remain in this city. Your countrymen who did not go with you into exile. Yes, this is what the Lord Almighty says. I will send a sword, famine and plague against them, and I will make them like poor figs that are so bad they cannot be eaten. See, again, the nation's likened to figs. And it's talking about the Babylonian captivity. When God was so fed up with the nation, he allowed the Babylonians to come, destroy the city, burn the temple, and take them into captivity and kill many of them. But that happened again during the time of Christ, because when Christ came and they rejected him, this time he allowed and sent forth the Roman armies to destroy the city, burn the temple, and kill those inside. All right? Now watch. I will pursue them with the sword, meaning I'm going to send these nations after them, because if God removes his hand in protection, that's it. It's history. Famine and plague, and will make them abhorrent to all the kings of the earth, and an object of cursing and horror, of scorn and reproach among all the nations where I drive them. For they have not listened to my words, declares the Lord, words that I sent to them again and again by my servants the prophets. And you exiles have not listened either, declares the Lord. Now, here's the final proof that Israel is likened to a fig tree. Here, our Lord speaking in Luke 13, 6 to 9. Luke 13, 6 to 9. Everyone getting this? All right. I want you guys to learn. Then he told this parable. A man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he went to look for fruit on it, but did not find any. Sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what Jesus did?
Yeah.
All right, welcome back. Hope you've learned from this amazing video. Please do it to like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit up the notification button so that each time we drop our new videos, you'll be notified. As you can see in this video, Shamoun began to give him proof what the Quran said about Allah. This guy began to find out so many things that was written about Allah in the Bible. When Muhammad said that he felt a young hand from heaven touch him, and he saw Allah's finger. That is, the God he saw was his finger, and his hair was brown in color. So this means that Allah is claiming to say that the God's head is brown in color, and some part of the hair is even burnt in the Quran, which Sam even give him in the Arabic word to read. When he found out this thing, this guy was wowed in his founding, and Sam showed him again in the Quran where Allah said to Muhammad that his hand that is having hands, leg, foot, and even having belly, and is even having his own belly, and his belly is filled of bunk of water. So does these things mean that their Allah they are serving, or the God they claim they are serving, is just having a pot belly, and their God has an hand and just a finger in each of their hands, and their God has two legs? And even some part of the Quran see that Allah is having 3 legs. So what are they trying to estimate in their own belief? So this guy found out this truth, and I was really surprised about the Quran. Sam went forward and showed him in the Quran where it was said about their Allah that the hand of their Allah is just like a young boy, and their Allah is looking like a youth, that each time you see him, or when their Muhammad got to see him face to face, that he was looking like a youth. So does this thing means they are serving a God that, or a young person in their own religion? This thing really sounds funny in this Islamic religion. Yeah, Muhammad only who he was having his encounter with before creating this religion coming up as an Islam. And these guys, I believe, they are really serving Muhammad indirectly, thinking they are serving the God Almighty. And this guy asked a question and said that in the book of Mark chapter 11 verse 21, when God curses the fig tree, so what was Jesus Christ trying to claim there? That means Jesus Christ don't know the particular time this fruit was supposed to produce before he cursed this tree. And Sam make it clear to him, in that book of Mark chapter 11 verse 21, and told him this fish tree as a thing is not really talking about the fish tree as particularly. He was speaking, Jesus Christ at that particular time was speaking in the book of Hosea chapter 9, when God was talking about the Israelites, that this fish tree really means the Israelites and not the tree in physical. That what Jesus Christ did in the physical was already what that has happened in the spirit realm in the Old Testament. Talked about when God talked about the fish tree, but at that aspect, God was talking about the people of Israelites when He's supposed to come and find them, bringing their first fruits to the temple, but they could not even provide it. But God caused them at that particular time. So, in that aspect, Jesus Christ was performing the same thing God did in the Old Testament. This proof means that Jesus Christ is God in this aspect. Hope you've learned on this amazing video. Please do it to like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit up the notification button, and write down below in the comment section what you've learned from this video. To more of our videos when Shamoun speaks about the Trinity head. Thanks for watching this amazing video.